All right. We're talking about the Brownies, Cleveland Browns, 11-6 last year, despite no Watson and Mr. Joe Flacco coming off the couch. He's the first loss, which
Uh-oh. Did we lose you again?
Are we back?
Oh, there he is. Come on now.
Hey, just like Flacco, baby. I'm returning. You can't keep me out of the league. I'm coming back. But no, so their first loss is Joe Flacco. Kareem Hunt, who cast me a sweet 11-1 to have 2 touchdowns against the Houston Texans. I can see it as clear as yesterday in the playoffs. Anyway, let me stop reminiscing. I hope he gets picked up. I love betting Kareem Hunt anytime touchdowns. Anthony Walker and Sione Takitaki, both linebackers at the same position, both guys with health concerns that just didn't really work out, but are good players. Additions, famous Jameis, baby, eating that W, baby. The Florida State Seaman Hole himself, Jameis Winston. Deonta Foreman, Jerry Jeudy, we talked about. Devin Bush, former Steeler. Jordan Hicks coming over from, I believe, Minnesota. And then Mike Hall, your guy out of
Ohio State University.
Yeah. All right, what are your takeaways from your division rival there? What did they do in the offseason? Anything major? What are you thinking?
For the most part, they swapped out a running back. They swapped out both linebackers, and they're running it back. Cleveland was just decimated with injuries, like all over the field. Their offensive line, obviously, Nick Chubb goes down in week 3 or 4, something like that. I think they had a quarterback carousel of their own up in Cleveland. So obviously their defense solid. They may have had the best defense, at least top 3 defense in the entire NFL last year, but offensively, will they be able to stay healthy? What kind of production is Deshaun Watson going to be able to give you? Because, he took a year and a half, 2 years off not too long ago, missed most of the season last year. The dude just hasn't played football in the last 3, 4, 5 years. Like, it's been a while since Deshaun has played a full season, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I think that's where my biggest concern is, outside of obviously Nick Chubb returning from that major knee injury that he had.
Yeah. No, we're going to talk about it a little later. Trust me, because I'm going to bring it up about Deshaun and both Chubb. But yeah, we're gonna head over to the injury realm here in 1 second. But I think some of their takeaways is Jerry Jeudy, I guess, is really the biggest addition because he's the biggest new piece, right?
Yeah,
he's the biggest guy who is coming in that wasn't in there last year. The one that kind of separates them a little bit. But I like how you said they really are kind of running it back here. All right, let's talk about some of the injuries there. And why don't we start with Nick Chubb? We have the picture up here where he is squatting an insane amount of meat. So let's talk about his injury first. He had that multi-ligament knee injury where he had his ACL blown out, a couple other ligaments there. What was it? MCL and meniscus.
Yep.
And, he required 2 surgeries, one to fix the MCL meniscus and then one to fix your ACL, or the other one to fix the ACL. This was a major injury, something that typically takes closer to like a year to almost 15 months. But this is what he's doing at 8 months out. So what are your thoughts on Nick Chubb?
My question is, why are we using that tsunami bar and throwing 600 pounds on this dude's back that just had a major knee surgery, 8 months ago?
Yeah.
Right?
About 8.5 months ago. Yeah.
It's impressive. I think there was a video of him doing exactly the same thing about a year and a half ago with, I think, 60, 75 pounds more. But, for all intents and purposes, the only thing that this shows me is that the dude wants to show that he's still strong.
Mm-hmm.
He has strong glutes and hamstrings. Cool. I'm hoping Nick Chubb the best on all weeks except for when the Browns play the Steelers. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Nick Chubb's injury is just weird, and from a timeline standpoint, like you're right there at week 1. Like I personally probably wouldn't expect him to be back that first week, at least at
Yeah.
full strength, because he's not going to be. I wouldn't think he would be doing a whole heck of a lot in training camp, but it's just weird, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, look, I mean, hey, yeah, first of all, just because he can do something doesn't mean we really should be doing something. This also doesn't really change my opinion in any way of his outlook for the season. I mean,
Yeah.
this is a lot more. We talked about, it's a lot more hamstring and hip dominant. If it's his knee, yeah, it's good that he has the range. It's good that he can get down there. But
Yeah.
I'd be much more impressed to see him doing some unilateral single leg stuff, so doing some explosive stuff, to cutting, to getting back to taking contact. Like those are things I'm concerned about. I mean,
let's see him sprint. Let's see him run a 40.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that's a lot more functional, something that's,
Yeah.
truly using those quads and allowing those knees to be explosive.
Yeah. And as Derek did allude to, he does have 12 months because he injured himself so early. So that is a plus. He does have a little bit more time than most to kind of get himself situated. But he's someone I'm still avoiding in fantasy, and we'll talk about their running back, their backfield in a second. I want to talk about a couple injuries here really quickly. Deshaun Watson, shoulder fracture. And, they saw that hairline fracture. They decided to end his season with that, let that heal. He's got about 9.5 months to the season. This is really something that at the worst case takes 6 months. I'm not really concerned with. He's back to throwing. If obviously monitor it in training camp, if it's something that you see something come up potentially, but I think he's going to be good to go. The other guy's Jack Conklin. He also had a multi-ligament knee injury, in week 2, I believe, if not week 1. And he has 12 months recovery, but that is about 11 to 12 month recovery timeline. What are you thinking about Conklin? Obviously different position. Are you a little bit more optimistic there with his multi-ligament knee injury?
I don't know if I'm necessarily as much optimistic with him, but they have another guy in Dwan Jones that was fairly serviceable last year. Like in pass pro, Dwan Jones is a hell of an offensive tackle, but the dude's like 6'8", 360 and just can't get out and move as well as Jack Conklin can in the run game. So
yeah,
I think they have some other pieces there that can fill in nicely for Jack Conklin if he's not ready to go. But at the same time, like he's probably going to be in that range where he could be ready for week 1. I wouldn't necessarily leave that off the table, but it wouldn't surprise me if he's not full go until week 3, week 4, or something like that either.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good read there. And man, as a Giants fan, one of the teams I do envy is the Browns, because their offensive defensive line play is just so dominant for so long. It's something that I'm a firm believer. You build your team from the inside out, as the Giants Super Bowls have shown. I don't know how they haven't shown the front office, but I digress. We're talking about the AFC North. All right, we're gonna go to Fantasyland first. Just a couple guys we want to talk about. Really just the running backs. Let's see what we're trying to do here. Nick Chubb, RB35, Jerome Ford, RB39, and Deonta Foreman, RB62. Obviously, these numbers are dynamic. We are in July. These numbers change a lot. But this is telling me Chubb is going right before Ford, and Foreman is going, about 30 picks later, basically free. Do you agree with these? What are your thoughts? What are you looking at here?
The biggest question for me is more Ford versus Foreman, like as that RB2. Like, I think both of them could be the guy. Like, Jerome Ford never really showed that burst as a running back through most of the season last year. Like, he was okay, but I think he finished the season with like 3 touchdowns, 800 and some yards. Like, again, he was okay, but he probably averaged about 4 yards a carry. Like, I think at this point in his career, Deonta Foreman probably has a little bit more juice, a little bit more burst. at the end of the day, I think I would probably stay away from all three of them.
Yeah,
but
I think they will. I think they will cannibalize each other a little bit. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I do think Jerome Ford showed me some things last year.
Really?
I am optimistic for Ford. I know a lot of
you must have not been starting Jerome Ford on your fantasy team because he was so it was very frustrating because he would have like 70. He would have 72 yards and no touchdowns every single week.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And you know, what is he doing out of the backfield? I know he was a decent threat out of the backfield, but I'm a little bit more optimistic. I think, like we talked about, the Browns took some hits to offense. They were trying to figure things out. I think Ford is going to start as the guy. You know, I wouldn't mind Ford at RB basically 40. You're not spending a lot of draft capital. You know, all these guys are kind of getting them a little bit later. You know, but if you want to make the argument that you're going Nick Chubb, also RB 35 pretty late because you're taking him purely for the back half of the season for him to have a you know, potentially have a pretty good back half. I can't make a huge argument with you there. You know, I do think he's going to play. I do think by week 8-ish, he's going to kind of start getting back into it. It's really hard to bet on a guy who's had multiple knee surgeries, multi-ligament surgery. And, you know, the only thing that keeps me from fully fading him is he does have almost a full year from his injury date to this year.
It's tough too. Cause like, I mean, obviously we've talked about how after an ACL tear, most guys don't field themselves until that 2-year mark. Right.
Yep.
I don't know if he'll be like everybody because he's had knee injuries like this in the past. Right.
Yeah.
So will some of that mental processing kind of, you know, be sped up? I don't know. It'll be interesting. Maybe it'll be slowed down. Who knows? But like you were saying, I think if you get this guy in the back half of your draft, like he's gonna be on the field most likely come playoff time of your fantasy.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where if you're tactical about it and he falls to you and you've got some pretty good running backs ahead of him and you have a plan to know this is not going to be like an every down, you know, an every week starter for you. I think he's a guy that you can get ahead of the game on. So yeah, it's a pretty interesting situation there. All right, let's get over to the action. Let's go over to our best bets. We're going to start with you, my friend. What are your best bets for the 2024 Cleveland Browns? They went 11-6 last year. Win total is 8.5. Juice to the over at -135, under +115.
Yep. So the only thing that I'm going to throw out for the Browns, because I mean, all of these teams are really kind of everything's up for grabs. And
it's a tough read, man. This division
it is. But I think the only thing that I'm going to throw out there is Amari Cooper to go over 1,000 yards at +110.
Love it.
I was thinking taking his over at 950 at -110, but for the extra 50 yards to get plus money, I'll take that. He's already hit this, I think,
2 for 2 in Cleveland.
I was going to say at least last year, if not both years in Cleveland. So
yep.
I still like him. But outside of him, there are a lot of question marks for me. Like we were talking about with Jerry Jeudy, him coming in, and there's so many different options. He's not a truly proven guy. Running backs are all over the place. Deshaun Watson, who knows what he's going to give you. So I'm just going to stick with Amari Cooper over 1,000.
I agree with you so much. I took it myself. Amari Cooper, 1,000 plus receiving yards at +110. Yeah, he's just a guy who does this. 2 for 2 in Cleveland. He's kind of shown that despite Deshaun, the last 2 seasons getting hurt and not being, only playing 6 games, he can play through that. He can be productive. You know, him and Joe Flacco, or whether it's the DTR coming out of the UCLA, DJ Walker from the old
Joe Flacco.
Yeah, like I mean, he's kind of quarterback proof. So I love the Cooper bet. And to that effect, though, I am going to add just one play is Deshaun Watson under 3,300 and half passing yards at -120. When is the last time you think Deshaun Watson has gone over this number?
2018.
A little bit sooner. 2020.
Ah,
2020. The year that got him this fat contract and made Cleveland pay him a bunch of guaranteed money.
gotcha.
And he's played 12 games for them in
Yep.
what, 3 seasons, 2 seasons,
Two
whatever
and
it
a
has
half.
been.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a health thing. It's hey guys, newsflash, you don't get better at football by not playing football. And
Yep.
Deshaun Watson has done a lot of not playing football the last 4 years of his career.
Mhm.
So I'm fading Watson. I just don't love the thought that he's going to be healthy all 17 games. The thought that they're going to just light it up through the air. I think they're going to get back to what they do, ground and pound.
Yep.
And he's got Jameis Winston breathing down his neck. I mean, he's got LASIK.
Jameis.
He's got a clean sheet. No Publix in Cleveland.
That's true.
His eyes are on
They
the
do have the
prize.
West Side Market though, which is it
A
is a
lot of
nice little
crab
spot
legs.
though. I don't know if I would have crab legs out of Lake Erie up in Cleveland, but
So he's fine. He's perfect. He can see clearly that he knows what the goal is. So
hey, locker room guy, yeah, keep him up in Cleveland.
Jameis is so fun, dude. Jameis Winston's got to be one of the funniest guys in the NFL, man.
Oh,
What
no
a
doubt.
character. What a
Love him.
character. But yeah, give me the under Watson there. All right. Anything about the Brownies there before we move over to the division champs?
I don't think so. I do think they will take a little bit of a step back this year. I think the defense is another year older, didn't really change a whole lot. I think there were there were some reports out there that like the Cleveland had their fastball last year and they just never did much change up,
Yeah.
in terms of their defense. So we'll see if they can develop a change up. But
Yeah.
I do think that they probably will take a slight step back because they are the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, well, that's true, but also, that's why I'm staying away from that win total, because they, with their offensive line, with their defensive line, they do have a floor. And is it going to be 9 games? Is it going to be 8 games? I'm not sure. So, I do think a step back is definitely probable, but how far back? I don't think it's going to be. I could see them with anywhere between 8 and 10 wins. Again,
Yep.
like everybody in this
Agreed.
fucking division.